Well, good morning, everybody. Happy Friday to you. Welcome to DCC Today. I trust that you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Maybe your refrigerator is still filled with leftovers, and so you may be planning on a great lunch again as well. We're going to start off with a photo of the day, and I've been pulling a few of my photos out of the file, and here's one I took a number of years ago of a glacier lily that is just poking up through the snow. And I think these are so fascinating because that little flower generates enough heat and attracts enough heat as it's growing that it actually melts a hole in the snow. And you'll look at this snow field and you'll see all of these perfectly round holes. And if you look down on the hole, you'll see these little lilies coming up. Try to say that 3 times fast. Anyway, how about some announcements? This Sunday, we're going to have a special Thanksgiving message. We're taking a little break from the book of Job, but we're going to be talking about what does it mean to have a Thanksgiving plan. So I hope you'll join us for that. We will not be having an in-person service, but we will be online and it will be available on DVD. Okay, devotional thought. This comes out of Isaiah chapter 49, verse 15. Isaiah says, speaking of God and his people, says, "Can a woman forget her nursing child, that she should have no compassion on the son of her womb? Even these may forget, and yet I will not forget you." This was a word of the Lord to his people Israel, but as God's people, those who follow Jesus, we stand in that same place of being the center, the object of his love. And it says here that could a woman forget the baby that is nursing at her breast? Well, obviously there's not a chance. But Isaiah says even if she could, even if a nursing mother could forget that that baby is right there, depending on her, he says God will not forget you. He will care for you. And in a time like this, that is a reassuring promise that we will not be forgotten and we are cared for. We have got another segment of Glenn Brown's story. So let's go and listen to that now.
Unfortunately, not all of my decisions were as led of the Lord as the one to go to Ukraine. I had an idea while I was still in the pastorate, and knowing that I was going to be retiring soon, of augmenting my retirement pay with a investment in real estate. I decided to build a home for resale, and this was going to be in a very select location where it would take top sale price. So I bought a very select lot in a area that was going to be large homes, expensive homes, and we had an architect design a large house, 5,000 square feet, 6 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms, a separate mother-in-law unit on the 2nd floor. And one of the men in the church wanted to invest with me, and so we constructed this big home. Unfortunately, the time it came up for sale was when real estate was collapsing in California, and it was even in the collapse of the real estate, the bank still gave us a loan value of nearly $1 million on the home. And but each week it seemed the valuation for the real estate market would decrease. But this was one of the important business things I had to get solved before I could go back to Ukraine. And so we took a price way below market, at least the bank's estimate, and sold the house for about $600,000, which gave us no profit. In fact, we had a lot invested that we didn't. But we were able to survive that and got that monkey off our back. I was told that it would be important to have transportation if you went to Ukraine. And so I flew to Germany, and a chaplain friend opened up his home for me to stay, and we stayed there a couple of weeks while I looked for a vehicle. I found one at actually it was a big huge used car lot near, not too far from Frankfurt. And from a private owner, I bought a 1984 Audi sedan. And I drove across Germany and Austria and Hungary, got lost dreadfully in Budapest, all but ran out of gas and didn't have any of their currency. But God provided. I found a hotel that could change my dollars, and I had a location that I was supposed to go to meet someone from Ukraine that was going to guide me into Ukraine. So I met them at this preacher's home outside of Budapest, and the one that was to lead me did not speak English. I was to follow his vehicle, and he would help me get through customs. And so late that afternoon, about 4 p.m., late October, we headed for Ukraine. It was normally about a 5-hour trip. We got near the border, and it was some sight. Here I was traveling with someone that I couldn't speak to. Up ahead, I desperately stuck to his tail light, and we got to the border, and here were all these guards lined up for literally, I guess, miles with weapons, and there were bonfires burning beside the road, vehicles lined up for maybe 1, 2, 3 miles, and this Volkswagen bus that I was following whipped around those vehicles, got into the lane going the wrong way, and I followed. Occasionally he would stop and ask me if I had a dollar bill. I'm sure he was bribing the guards as we made this excursion. But we finally got to the border crossing where the officials were, and I gave him my passport and visa, and he went in and talked to them. It took some time, but finally we were allowed to go. And by about 3 o'clock in the morning, we got to the village where the driver lived and where a church was located, where my translator lived, the translator that had helped us when we'd been there in June. So he spoke good English, and he was going to help me when I met with the general. So Sunday morning, we went to church. After church, the translator met me, and he said, Glenn, I have bad news for you. He said, I have gotten approval to go into Germany to work. Now this was in '93, see. They were poverty-stricken, and getting approval to go to Germany to work was salvation of their family, because they could earn money there and then bring it back. And so he said, I must go. And he said, I have to leave Tuesday morning. I said, well, you'll be here Monday. Yes, he'll be here Monday. I said, you got to go with me to the general's office. Let him know I'm here. And so Monday morning, we drove into the general's office. It was raining cats and dogs, and we had a flat tire. I had no spare. We had to, he had happened to have a spare in in his place, and we got that and put it on, and got and reported to the general, but the general was not there. Another officer met me, and he said, I heard you were here in June. The general is gone, and I'm here now in charge. And he was very cordial. We had a good discussion about our families, and then he said, now I have to call higher headquarters and see what they want me to tell you about what you can do. You come back at 4 o'clock this afternoon, and I'll let you know what they say. We came back at 4 o'clock at the appointed time. The officer did not invite me back up into his office as he had that morning. He came down and met me in the courtyard there before headquarters. Different person as far as his demeanor was concerned. He was very stern and very much business, not good business. He said to me in no uncertain terms, he said, you are to leave this compound. You're not to go into any of our military bases. You're not to talk to any of our military personnel. You're to have no contact with anyone in the armed forces unless you specifically get permission from the Minister of Defense and the head of the Psychological Services Division. All I could do was say, aye, aye, sir. And so I did and left. I said to the Lord, I said, well, Lord, I gave it my best shot. I guess nothing to do but go home. And the Lord spoke. Out of the clear, he spoke to my heart, and he said, what did he say you had to do before you could get aboard military bases or speak to military personnel? Well, he said I had to get permission from the Ministry of Defense and the head of the Psychological Services Division, but they're over 800 kilometers away from here, and I don't know how to get in touch with them, and I just don't know how possibly that I could get their permission. And the Lord said, contact them. That's all he said. I said, but how? I have no telephone number. But he didn't speak anymore. He just said, contact them. And that was where he left it. Well, how God opened up doors for me to contact the Ministry of Defense is too long a story. But suffice it to say that I was enabled to get to Kiev. I had no interpreter. I went there without an interpreter. But I had been able to speak to a duty officer at the Ministry of Defense. He spoke excellent English. When I got there and met him at the appointed place and time, he arranged for me to get in touch with chief officer from the Psychological Services Division. He'd asked me to write a letter and bring it to, which I had written to the Ministry of Defense. He said, I'll walk it through the bureaucracy. And all the bases, right bases, were apparently touched. And I went back to Makachevo, where the military installation was, and I was enabled to have a ministry aboard bases, thanks to the Lord's intervention. And we enjoyed that open door for approximately 2.5 years. And then the government changed their regulations, and but by that time we had converts, and the Lord had a open door into the military bases. Perhaps the most noteworthy project, the one that probably will have more effect for eternity in the lives of young people, is the Eunice Brown Home for Children, which is an orphanage in Makachevo. And it's had notable success as far as the local people are concerned, in that the government has recognized it as a model for other homes of this sort. And God is blessed. We have a good staff there. And initially we were authorized to have 10 children. And the government observed what was going on, and then because of the excellent reputation, we have now been authorized to have 20 children.
All right, well, thanks for joining us today. I hope that we will see you again, or you'll see us Sunday morning for church, that special Thanksgiving message. And we'll be back here again on Monday with another episode of DCC Today. Till then, God bless.